Hello, hello, and welcome to Saturday Soundbites. I'm your host, Veronica V. Sofer. So excited to have you here on Saturday Soundbites, where we talk all things messaging, branding, public relations, marketing, advertising, and all the little components that come together to put together a very strong brand, whether you're in the for-profit space, nonprofit space, entrepreneur space, government space, you name it. At the end of the day, branding, marketing, and that strategy all comes together to really make sure that your community and your audience knows exactly who you are and what you're about. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have a phenomenal guest, but before we bring her on, I want to make sure we take care of some housekeeping. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of Saturday Soundbites. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop us some comments, and my guest and I will be sure to circle back, answer any questions you might have, and just thank you for tuning in. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get this episode kicked off. Welcome the amazing Ginna Tassanelli. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. So excited that you're here. Ginna, I love connecting with people who have your background. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But what I love most about what you're doing is you've made that transition from the corporate executive marketing, advertising, PR space over to the space you're in now. So give us a little bit of background about how it is you all just put it all together from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really started with my own experience and my own journey, moving from corporate to an entrepreneur to now a small business with a team of 10. But what I found in the very beginning was that I was coming from corporate, I was working with national brands. And so when I left and I resigned and I started my own business, I was under the impression, which I think is a really big misconception by us entrepreneurs, that I needed to get my logo ready and my fonts and my colors and my website and have it all perfect. And, I published this website and all of a sudden clients would be flocking to us. And that was definitely not what happened. I was lucky enough to have some clients leave with me. So I became their media buyer and planner. At that time, this is still like at the very beginning of, Facebook and even Instagram. So I'm kind of dating myself. But what I quickly realized was that there was a missing puzzle piece, and that was how I was showing up as the leader in my business. And I really wasn't showing up as the leader. I was showing up with my logo. I was also very private. So nobody was making that connection with the real human, the human side to what we do. And so that's where really my passion grew, to help other entrepreneurs, specifically women-led business owners, and really show up in a way that is where they are embodying their personal brand together with their business brand to really make that human connection. And so we've made a shift. We are also a full service marketing agency, but I do consulting and coaching work as well, more one-on-one, and, just having that real connection with women just like us to really guide them through that whole process.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so interesting that you talked about personal branding, because I've talked to business owners, I've talked to corporate executives, executives in the nonprofit and government space, and they didn't realize that they were a brand. So I want to talk a little bit about that and the idea that it can follow you. So for example, in the K-12 space, you might get the leader, the superintendent, or, equivalent to a CEO, but they might end up in the course of their career being in 4 or 5 different communities, even cross states. I mean, you could go from California to Houston to New York. Why is it important that you have a personal brand? I think that's really the crux of my question, because I don't think everyone understands that when you're a leader, you need a brand.
Yeah. So first thing is I tell my clients is, they'll say, Ginna, I don't have a brand. I don't have a personal brand. I have no idea. I'm like, yes, you do. Look in the mirror. That is your personal brand. It's you. But it's a matter of how you package it together to really align your personal, like to the core as a person, how you align your values, your mission with your business. And it's important because, like you said, this transpires to all different parts of your journey as a business owner and even as a person. So whether you have this title today and next year you have this title, when you are showing up using, your own unique skills and your experiences and your just human self in everything that you do, whether that's on an interview or you're, networking or you're doing a presentation on, Zoom, wherever it is. It doesn't matter what your title is. It's really about who you are as a person. So you can change jobs, you can start different businesses, and you don't have to restart essentially you don't have to restart from scratch, as long as you are, really taking control of how people are perceiving you as a person and as that service provider. So it transcends to all parts of your life all of the time. And of course it evolves, because we're human beings. We evolve, we get older, we, start to like new things, we pick up new skills, we have new experiences, but it's still part of you, still part of your core.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and I love that you really emphasized that transitional part, because I think that's where people instinctively want to recreate a brand, but how do you help people connect to the overall strategy? So, using that example of an executive changing, because we have executives that go from working at oil and gas to tech to healthcare. How do you be strategic and make sure your brand is consistent through all of that?
Yeah. So, there's foundationally, it gets pretty deep. It's really understanding who you are and what you bring to the table. What are your, like I said before, like, what are your values? What's important to you? What are you passionate about? And then you can transcend that into anything that you're doing. Strategically, it's really a matter of, it takes a lot of courage and confidence. So I know, people want like that secret sauce. What's the magic bullet to make marketing effective? And many times it starts with that. I mean, that's really the foundational missing piece for a lot of us, is that we haven't stepped out of our comfort zone to just show up as a human being and really start building relationships. So strategically, I tell my clients, you need to show up. You need to show up on camera now more than ever. Camera is the fastest way to really increase your credibility, to show up as an expert. People listen to you. They get to know your personality and connect with you, instead of feeling like you have to stay in this box and cookie cutter yourself all of the time. So start with showing up, really building relationships, networking, and provide value. Communicate the transformations, the benefits to working with you versus all of the features, right? So rather than telling people what you can do, it's more of, here's what will happen when we work together. And, and really, and adding that emotional, a lot of marketing is really, it's emotion. It's how can we connect with our clients and our audience in order to have that emotional effect, so that they feel aligned to us, they feel like they can resonate with us, and like we actually hear them. People just want to be heard. And so it's really just being a human. And I think nowadays, because there's so much technology and there's so much fun stuff and different ways to market yourself, we get so stuck on all of that tech, and we forget about the human element to all of this. So that's really the beginning of it, is bringing yourself into it.
And I liked that. I mean, essentially what you said was just show up, just start. I mean, what I got was, if we would all just show up, it will start happening. So what would you say to a client who struggles with the tech? Like you just said, I'm not a tech person. I don't know how to do reels. I don't know what the latest is. I don't know TikTok. I'm only comfortable with Facebook. What do you tell those brand owners as they understand why they need it now? They're bought in. You've coached them. You've got them to a good spot. What about that tech part? What do you suggest they do when they're not comfortable with some of the technology that exists?
I tell people you don't have to do it all. That's for one. You don't have to be everywhere. In fact, you don't want to be everywhere if you don't have one or two platforms down, with a smooth routine. it also takes a lot of planning and organization. What I find is many business owners, they're just like throwing, throwing things at the wall, hoping that it sticks without an actual marketing strategy and a plan to support it. So it really, it takes organization and planning, and not so much worrying about the tech. Your phone is a really quick way to, do a live stream. So you don't have to use third party apps. Although they can be helpful and really useful, I would say just start slow and start basic, and that's okay. The other thing is to really be efficient with your time.
Mm.
So we help our clients to repurpose a lot of their content. So for example, like this interview that we're doing right now can be chopped into small little clips. Hire somebody on Fiverr, or you can get a virtual assistant nowadays for $10 an hour that's really experienced at doing this kind of stuff. It doesn't take that much budget or that much amount of time to really ask for support. But also, don't reinvent the wheel. Use like I said, like this one video can be repurposed into an email campaign with the text, what the words that we're saying, all of the tips that we're sharing, a blog post, cut it into different, snippets. So there's a lot of ways to just be more efficient. And again, that takes planning and organization, and not trying to do what everyone else is doing because you're seeing everyone else do it. It's really working on what fits into your own life, into your time, into your space. And then from there, you can grow.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. And I think the idea that you can outsource all that and you don't have to do it, you're on your own.
Right.
When you think about big corporations, they do have a marketing team, and then they have an AV team, and then they have copywriters, and then they have graphic designers. And so the idea of you doing all of that seems really overwhelming for someone, but it can be done with outsourcing.
It can, and really inexpensive
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I like that. So let's talk about showing up boldly and unapologetically, being influential, with the keyword being influential. So as marketers and advertisers by trade, most of us know that psychology behind, the words that we're using, the colors that we're using. Let's talk about influential. What does it mean to bring that last component into your marketing, into your social media, into your public persona? Why and how do you know that you've been successful at influencing people?
Yeah, when you're shifting people's beliefs. So, and that's a lot with your brand. That has a lot to do with your brand message and what you're putting out there. So, rather than communicating the features of what you offer, communicating the benefits of what you offer, and helping people realize, like when we're just putting, a piece of content out there, that person that sees that piece of content may not actually be in right now thinking that they need you, but there's something that you say in that piece of content that might get them to start thinking like, oh my gosh, I feel like they're speaking to me, like she's speaking to me. So it's really just when you are becoming influential, it's because you are shifting people's beliefs to think a different way. And that could be, now they're becoming aware of, okay, I do struggle with this. I never thought of it that way. When you can make that, and obviously you're not hearing people say that, but because they're engaging, they're commenting, they're reacting to your post, or they're responding to an email, or maybe to a text message that you send, or they pick up your phone call. When you're starting to create conversations, that you are shifting beliefs and you're getting people closer to a place where it makes it easier for them to say yes to working with you, to an offer. Yeah.
Right. And I think, and I think it might be challenging for some people who are used to traditional advertising where there's measures. And how do you suggest someone feel comfortable with it, that they have made that influence towards someone and they have transitioned someone's values or had them think a particular way or take a particular action? How would you measure that, since it's not quite as black and white as traditional advertising?
Right. Well, I mean, there are, we do still track KPIs, and so we measure not only conversion to a sale, but also is engagement increasing?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
are 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 the clicks increasing? Are the shares on a social, say like on Facebook, are shares for a post increasing? Things like that, and that can always give you a really good gauge that the messaging is on point and it's really resonating with people. And then also, if you have a community, whether that's, I mean, typically it's, on Facebook, for example, you have a Facebook community, a group. When people are inviting others to come in, or when you're having conversations with people, when they're actually responding to your DMs because you're doing it in a way that's, that's really providing value, and you're coming off in a way that you want to connect. You're really trying to connect with people and build relationships. That is a great way to measure that, okay, this messaging is working and it's resonating with others. Um, and in the end, it's also what is your intention? What's your
Yeah.
intention? What's your goal? It's really knowing your intention and then knowing your goals as well.
Yeah, I like that. And
Yeah.
I like that you started off with KPIs, because I think um, people want to look at Google Analytics, and I think it's the end all
Yeah.
be all. But you gave us some really good insights into how all of that plays into measuring your success, and are these key performance indicators really performing for you? And I think
Mm-hmm.
and I think that having someone like you with that corporate background and Hype Media and what you're doing and what your team does for folks probably helps lay out for them what it is that they're seeing and whether it's good or bad, because sometimes you see all that data and it can be really overwhelming.
Right. Yeah, and it's fun. That's part of one of my things is that I love fixing messy marketing.
Oh,
And this stems from, I think, just from childhood and loving puzzles, and I grew up as a competitive dancer as well. And so what I have found in my own journey through all of this is um not so much the strategy behind it, because I love strategy, and that's where building puzzles is, fun for me, and fixing messy marketing, but it's also putting all of the pieces together. So there's not just one thing that makes your marketing successful. It's all of the pieces put together, how those are being combined and used to your advantage, that really make marketing successful.
hmm,
So it starts with you as a person, your your personal style, your personality, and then from there you build like your communication, the words that you use, your storytelling, your experiences, your values, case studies, um, and then we can get more strategic with, what are your initiatives. Let's work backwards. So how can we start to shift people's beliefs to get them closer to saying yes to whatever offer it is that you have? But all of those pieces need to work together. Just like when I danced, it was the choreography, the lights, the
right.
costumes, the makeup, all of that had to come together for people to really, in the audience, to feel that emotional connection. Same thing with marketing. All of these pieces need to come together.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that's a great segue for me to ask you how people can work with you
Yeah.
and what it is you're doing. I know you've got a couple of different lines of services in your business, including some coaching, but tell us how people can work with you and learn more about, especially that marketing component, and the different programs you've got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with national brands as well as personal brands, experts, established coaches, and consultants through a done for you process as an agency. And then I also do consulting and coaching work with, entrepreneurs that are not so much just starting, but have been in business for maybe a couple years or so, and are really looking to get have an expert behind them to help them guide them through a whole marketing strategy plan, and so on and so forth. And so we do that also through stylishlybranded.com. And that's our unapologetically influential method and framework that I work with our clients through. So there's various different ways that I can support entrepreneurs. And then we actually do, I think we're offering something. Did we drop that to you?
You may
You found it?
have, and I will make sure it's in the show notes because I
Okay,
didn't.
cool.
Yeah, I had a little tech issue this morning, so we were going on the fly. But no, but all the information is going to be in the show notes. How to connect with you, Ginna, how to connect with your team, and how to learn more about all the programs that you've got. We've got all of that in the show notes. So if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you go to the show notes, and then of course everyone else just click the link where you see it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It was so good to have you on. I love talking marketing and strategy and KPIs and influencers, and you gave us some great insights. So thank you so much, Ginna, for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, make sure you connect. Again, contact information is in the show notes. When you're talking about visibility strategy, having all those components together really make a world of difference. So take Gina's advice. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and she will be sure to circle back because I'm going to make sure she gets tagged. So we're going to wrap up this episode of Saturday Soundbites. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, you can reach me at veronicavsofer.com. And if you're listening on the podcast, don't forget to hit subscribe. We want you to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes of Saturday Soundbites and really learn from some experts who are bringing some value as you grow your business and your brand. If you're listening or watching, I should say, on YouTube or on Facebook, drop us some comments and we will be sure to circle back. So with that, I'm wrapping up this episode and I'm sending you lots of